Hello, good day, whenever of the day you are listening to this at. I'm really, oh my goodness, I don't know what to describe today, but I know that I really want to share this and help you make some new decisions and change some perspectives with which you've made decisions concerning your career and other parts of your life. Today's conversation will be talking about why some narratives might not play out for you the way you'd hear them when it comes to career advice and what to do in those situations. And I'm going to use one particular example that I have heard over and over again since my university days till university days? No, way before university. I think as long as I can remember, this one crucial career advice I had heard so much that sometimes pans out the way I was told and sometimes didn't pan out, but I have had to find my own way of navigating those ones. And so if you're interested in knowing what this career tip is, then you might want to stick and stay into today's episode. And then if you're really feeling so generous today, you might want to share this episode with someone out there because you might never know who you're helping really. So build a community or spread the love or share this great tip or great episode with someone else, and make sure to subscribe, because why would you be sharing something you don't subscribe to? Pun intended. So go ahead, subscribe, and then let's go into today's episode.
Dear ambitious African, this is your host, Secho. In this podcast, we'll discuss everything about our journeys and experiences towards achieving our goals for life and work as phenomenal change leaders in our varied communities. We'll feature other ambitious Africans crushing it through arts, social activism, tech innovations, entrepreneurship, and positive lifestyle and holistic well-being. We are the generation that is redefining Africa as we know it, and as an ambitious African, now is the time to get involved. Give us your feedback and ideas for our next podcast, and let's keep the conversations going. See you inside.
So obviously I'm supposed to make a bit of fuss about the fact that we are starting a new season on the podcast with this episode, but honestly I am not that kind of a person. I don't celebrate birthdays, big days, and I'm not a celebratory person. But on the flip side, I just love to enjoy the everyday things and celebrate random things. And so since this isn't so random, but I want it to be, I'm just trying to put the two together and post this episode as if it was a random episode, but still let you know that, hey, we are back. Season 2 is up, and I can't wait to share another amazing season with you. So thank you for sticking around. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for telling people about the podcast. Thank you for bugging me in my DMs about when is the next episode coming up? When is the next season coming up? I'm so glad. At least I know someone is listening out there. So thank you so much. Now, first off, to discuss today's topic, right? I just want to get it out of the bag already and just kill the suspense about this career tip I've heard. And this career tip is this: be indispensable at your job. Yes. And there are different nuances with which this career tip comes out. There is the side where it says, be so good at your job, when you leave, people will feel your absence. Then there's also, be so indispensable to your work that nobody can replace you, and so you get to keep the job. You know where all these nuances come up. And then there's also the side of, oh, be so great at your job that even if they don't have room for you, they make room for you, which is really good. I mean, like, all those things have happened to people. It has happened for me at some point in my career. And in some cases, it hasn't happened for me like I thought it would. And here's how I also navigated it. That is literally why I'm recording today's episode, really, to help you know how to navigate those tricky situations, because it can really get quite underwhelming, if I should say so the least. And so I know that you have also heard that career tip or that career advice, probably from your mom, your dad, your school teacher, university lecturer, or someone you really look up to, or even a random post on social media. And I'm here to bust that bubble and say, you know what? You don't have to be indispensable. In fact, you should make it your job to be dispensable, because in today's day and age, who wants to be the one everybody's calling for a particular thing? That is a lot of stress. And since we are all living the soft life, trying to aspire to traveling the world, working remote, enjoying life as it comes, we don't want to be stuck to a particular task or job role because we are the best at it. Nobody wants to do that. And so I want you to take that career tip with a pinch of salt. Not to totally disregard it, but really know when it makes sense for you and when it doesn't make sense for you. And this is how I'm also going to introduce how I navigated those situations where it didn't happen. I'll tell you a quick story. So when I was doing my national service, at an international nonprofit. I was, my first encounter with the CEO of that nonprofit just sort of gave me the best review or the best impression about working at this organization, right? So I had met the woman, we had a great conversation all the way, and she seemed like really a genuine person. I said, oh, this person is really good. And at the time, it had not even crossed my mind that I wanted to work with her. And so I'm scrolling through my WhatsApp, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I know this particular friend I also made, on the same day I met this woman who happens to be like the PA to the CEO. And I said, I was saying hello to her. Hi, how are you? It's been quite a while. And then the idea just came up that, oh, since I'm in university and vacation is coming up, is that, could they help me find like an internship? And I got the internship, and then that's when I got to work a bit closely with the CEO. Not necessarily closely, but just sharing the same space with her because the team was quite small. I think the team is what at the time was like just 8 people on the team, and so like it was pretty good an experience. I did an internship, and then school resumed. I went back to school, but I kept following up and keeping tabs on what the organization did because I really believe in what they do and things like that. And then one time I see I think a LinkedIn or one of their Instagram ads that's, oh, they are hiring national service personnel, so that those people will come serve for their service, their national service rather, with the organization. Now, if you don't know what national service is it's like a scheme or a program that was instituted by the Ghanaian government so many years ago. I don't know how long this scheme has been running. And I think they have something similar in Nigeria. I think those are the two countries I know in Africa or West Africa that has that kind of a program. And so the concept of the program is to get university students, who are graduating, to get some work experience before they jump into the job market. And also to tie some form of nationalism or attachment or allegiance to the country. And so they sort of mix the two goals together and say, you know what, you have to serve the nation for 1 year. And you can do it at a private institution or a public institution for 1 year. You don't get paid a particular amount, the amount you would have been paid if you were like a full-time worker, but they just give you like a stipend. But that was the concept of national service. And so we have in Ghana, I can speak for Ghana, right? In Ghana, we have companies who go register with the National Service Secretariat that, oh, you know what, if you have, and because obviously the government can take all these hundreds, almost 500,000 students who are graduating, right? They can't just absorb all those people into the public system. And so the government partners with private institutions, development agencies, and other organizations to sort of allocate these students or graduates rather to these national service spots. And so some of these organizations would definitely go ahead and advertise that, oh, they have a spot that if you really want to come serve with them, they will take you through like a recruitment process. And then when it's time to get allocated from the secretariat, they'll just send your name there so that the secretariat will know, oh, this is specifically who we want to work with as a national service personnel. So that was just a bit description of what national service is for those of us who don't know what it is. Fast forward, I see this ad, and I'm like, oh my god! And it says exactly personal assistant to the CEO, and I was jittery, I was nervous, I was everything in between. I'm like, oh my god! So I called another person. Another friend of mine, right, who I had also met during the internship. I was like, oh my god, this person, the CEO has this spot as a personal assistant. I would love to apply. I don't know if I'm going to get it. She's just like, yeah, go ahead and apply. So I do apply. Fast forward, I get to interview with her, or she gets to interview me. And, I was just so mesmerized. And I got the job. Yes, I got the job. And I work at that job for 1 year, and that was for me one of the most amazing working years I've had. I can't begin to explain the level of mutual respect, the level of awareness, empathy, a good blend of boss and mentor that I had at that, in my national service opportunity that I'm really grateful for, right? And so when my national service opportunity was ending, that's when this career tip kept ringing in my ears. I mean, it was just dangling. And I was like, oh my God, if I'm really that good, then I should be retained. And that is one of the biggest headaches of national service personnel. It's when your national service duration is coming to an end and you are literally biting your fingers if you are going to be retained. And the word is retained. Retention is such a big word for national service personnel. You won't believe it. And so a lot of national service people who most likely who work in places they love pray to be retained. And usually we go in with a strategy on how we are going to over deliver on tasks, impress our line managers or anybody who has a say in keeping us or retaining us so that we can get retained. And that's usually the first time this big career advice you'd get keeps sounding so loud in your ears at the back of your mind. Every single day you're entering the office, you're like, I'm going to put out the best opportunity. I'm going to put out my best act so that I can get retained, the big R. And for some people, they do get retained. For some, they don't get retained. I got retained, and so I was like, oh, I'm good. I'm so good, they can't let me go. Which was fine. But that's where the first point in how to navigate all this comes into play. Not to take anything away from you when you do get retained, and it's not even specifically for national service personnel. It's specifically for any kind of job you might have or any kind of opportunity that has like a probation form of system around it. that when it's coming to its end and you don't get retained, or you don't get the final package or the full package of what it's meant to be, chances are, based on my my recent observations and close observations and recent conclusions on what really happens in the corporate world, chances are it's only 10% of all of that really is about you, your competencies, or your skill sets, and that's on period. I'll say that again. The chances of you getting retained depends on literally 10% of anything that has to do with you. And that's on period. Literally 10%. And this is where your 90 comes from, right? Your 90 would come from your company's budget. Chances are they might want to cut back on spending, on paying salaries. And even if they want you that bad, they're like, you know what, we don't have the money to keep another person. And in the value chain, or the food chain rather, you are the easiest to cut off because you are very new to the business. You haven't spent as much time as full-time employees might have spent. The level of investment that full-time employees have received from the company, for which the company is really keen on recouping, you haven't got that. So if it comes to cutting something off the books, it would definitely be you. And it won't, in cases where you are more than one national service personnel, some were retained, some were not retained, even in that, it's not all about you not being a good talent to the company. And so 70, I'm trying to break the 90%, the rest of the 90% down for you, that 70% of that, 70 of that 90, right? 70% of this entire system is based on if the company can afford to keep you and pay you. And if they can't afford to keep you and pay all of you, in cases where you are not the only person, the rest of the 20% comes in with your line manager or your supervisor, or somebody in there. Somebody in there has to make a great case, like a very solid case for you, that they need you to work with them. And based on XYZ, these reasons, even if they're not going to keep the others, they want to keep you because perhaps you have some skill that other people don't have. And literally that's how it comes down to. It just comes down to that. Perhaps you have social media management skills that other people don't have. Perhaps you are good at data analysis that the other people don't have. It's literally that. It's not just because you are of course you are favored by God and God really loves you. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And God loves them too. So this is how perhaps your favor works out, that you have some skills that they don't have. And definitely they would have skills that you also don't have, but the company might not be in a position to require those skills just yet or be able to afford those skills. And so they might decide to let them go. And that's where another tricky part of that conversation comes in, which comes to number 2. In the cases where you do get retained based on your great implementation of this big career advice, that's when you need to be very careful about how much you take or receive or accept as your payment. And so you want to now use the same advice in a way that it doesn't go against you. Okay? So first we've talked about how being indispensable in one way or the other might not necessarily be all about you to a company. It's based on other factors. Now we're going to talk about when you do get retained or get selected based on this great career advice that you have implemented, by the way. What that could also mean for you and the red flags all around that. So if you work in a very fair and transparent company that says, you know what, We love the work you do. We know that these competencies of yours or these skill sets of yours will help our business grow, and so would want to make an offer for you. You need to be aware of the context within which this offer is coming. This offer is coming based on the fact that they see you as the little university recent graduates, or sometimes even with, they still have their lenses on you as if you are still a university student who doesn't really know your left from right from the corporate world. And so they still see you as somebody who came practically like an intern during your summer vacation. You're not so different from such a person. So they might see you with those eyes. And if you don't come from a transparent and fair paying institution, that particular perception can determine how much you are even paid. And that would eventually set a base on what you feel you deserve in terms of salary. And this is all mentally, right? It's not even like institutionally designed, but mentally, it also puts a cap on what you really deserve when you're looking for other jobs when the time comes to move on. And so, yes, you have implemented this great career advice, but you do not want it to be one that only gets you in the door. You want it to be one that also helps you get the bag. And so if you do realize that, oh, I got selected out of XYZ numbers of national service people who were also with me during the program, there must be something that these people are seeing. And if you can get your research done really well, ask your line manager, the person you work closest to, or someone else who's higher than you, who has some good interaction with your work and your ethics and everything else, and try to ask them really what made you stand out, what competencies, skill sets, or even needs of the company influenced your selection or your retention. And your job is to take all that information and use that to your advantage in negotiating for a better pay. You also want to give off the vibe that, yes, I am quite indispensable because we both know I have these skill sets you like. And so I would want a bit of compensation to commensurate this skill sets of mine that you really are in to get from me. Do you get the point? Great. So now let's talk about those people who didn't necessarily get the cut or get retained in any form or shape. And this could be, let's say you started the work, you did your probation for some months, and they're like, no, they can't keep you. Or you did an internship and hoping that after you done the internship, they can select you for a full-time job or any opportunity you're applying for, and that doesn't happen. Let's get into that. In case that happens, still go back to my first point about only 10% being about you, and look at it strategically as if you were the CEO or the HR of that company. You might want to book a time to ask some questions on what specifically they see as areas of improvement for you as you're going into the world to find new jobs. And then as well, you can use that opportunity to serve new skill sets on part-time basis to the business, or whatever opportunities you think you can leverage to still work with the company whilst you look for a full-time job, But of course, the point is this: it's really not all your fault. It does not mean that you have not done a great job implementing this big career advice. It does not mean that you are dispensable, or you are not needed, or that you are not important, or that you are not relevant. And that's where the third thing I would say really comes in, right? The third thing comes in, or the third way of navigating this comes in when you leave school, or when you closely attach your relevance and worth to some of these things, especially this career advice, which can be really a confidence booster. It can really hurt when you don't get retained in any shape or form. And so I'll tell you another story of how I didn't get retained in a different scenario and how I navigated that. Deal? Good. So when COVID happened, in my workplace, I was just, by the way, I wasn't laid off. If that's how this is beginning to sound, I wasn't laid off. But this will happen. Let me explain, okay? So when COVID happened, and then my workplace, remember, I had got retained, and so I was still working with this company for a couple of years or something. And then COVID happens, and then I hear that the CEO, who was the main motivation or pivotal reason for my joining the business or the organization, was leaving. And actually, she was even going to leave before COVID, but COVID happened early in the year, so she sort of waited it out and then sent in the resignation and said she was leaving. And then I felt, oh my God, if she's leaving, then perhaps my being indispensable to her in the past would resurface. And wherever she's going, whatever new job she's taking, my relevance to her might spring up again, because I was, of course, a fantastic PA when I served as a national service personnel. Now, mind you, I was still working in the company, but I was in the organization, right? It was a development organization, right? But I wasn't working on her team. I was working so there was like the regional team, and then there was the member nation team. So now, after national service, there was a role in the member nation team, and then I applied for it and got it, because at the time, the member nation team and the regional office were all in the same building, and so it just, I was also sharing my time at some points on projects with them, right? So I sort of had the opportunity to work in two organizations at the same time. So they didn't retain me for the PA role that she wanted, but I got an offer to work at the member nation office. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll take it, right? And so when she said she's leaving, I figured, oh my God, if she's leaving, then perhaps she could bring it up and tell me that, you know what, I'm going to a new company and I would need your service, so maybe you can still help me with my PA work. I don't know where that was coming from, because at this point I was working for a different organization, technically. But I was sort of cat, cute, puppy-eyed, waiting for that kind of affirmation to come in that form of this, grand request, or some form of acknowledgement or recognition to that request, to say, you know what, I'm leaving, but I know I'm going to definitely still need you, and so wherever I'm going next, would you be my PA? I don't even know where all this is going. But that didn't happen, basically. It didn't happen. She never brought it up, and I felt so irrelevant. I felt like, oh my gosh, so all the time I worked as a PA, I wasn't so indispensable for her to see my worth and ask me to come work with her again. Or nothing of that sort happened, and I was just misreading the entire thing for months on end. So much that when I wanted her to be my mentor, I really lagged in making the ask or making the request, because I felt in her head I am not very competent, but she just was too nice to tell me my face. I was just so insecure for that absence of the request. And it didn't happen, right? And I look back, I'm like, what was all that about? That was a lot of pressure that was unnecessary, literally. My goodness. People have different things they go through personally, professionally, career-wise, and all of that. And even if they wanted to do certain things or carry you along because you were so indispensable, there are some cases that might not be feasible because perhaps they have also observed you and felt like there are other things you need to be doing to grow your skill sets, and you're already in a good place, so they can't sort of poach you. And then also there's genuinely that case of poaching where you don't want that happening, and perhaps just because of that fact they can't ask you to come work with them even if you were so great at it. Another second reason to also highlight the fact that it's not always about you if you become quote unquote dispensable. Now I'm going to tell you a third story which happened very recently in my current job. I've since left that non-profit organization. I work in a different job, and not so long ago we had a business consultant come around the business, and in my role I'm in charge of keeping the business structured, afloat. I'll explain it later, but it's a long story. And so we have a consultant come in who's supposed to help us, structure the business. So it's sort of in line with what I do. So I am literally the point of contact between this consultant and then the business. So this man comes and he's running this mini workshop with the business, and he says in passing that wherever he's actually working with a company currently, and he's making it his job to become dispensable or to become redundant in the job. And I was like, that's the first time I've ever heard anybody say that out loud, but that's what I've always felt. That I don't want to be indispensable. I don't want to wear this as a badge of honor. It is unhealthy to be indispensable. And for him saying that, it was just like the biggest sigh of relief I had ever given myself, because it didn't feel awkward. And I figured perhaps when I record this episode, I would also share or transfer that level of relief to you too, if you found it within your life or some points in your career thinking, I don't think I want to be indispensable. Like, it's not my thing. And you sort of feel some way about it. I'm here to liberate you from that weight and say it's totally an amazing idea to not want to be indispensable. Yeah. Because what is the point of being the be or know all of a particular role or a particular task, so much that when you leave, your absence is felt? Like, for what? Why do you need your absence felt anyway? It's a workplace. Get your job done and leave. And no matter how you are so fantastic at your job, your absence will be felt even if you are not fantastic at your job. We are human beings, and human beings are experiences all by themselves. Once people leave, you're always going to remember them and feel the gap they felt, they left rather. So that's just granted. You are going to be missed. Either for your crappy work ethic or your great crappy work ethic, you are going to be missed. But you're not going to be missed for long, because you're going to have somebody to replace you and do your job. And chances are they might even find somebody who is better and cheaper than you. So I don't know why you want to be indispensable. You can't be indispensable. The corporate structure is designed to not applaud that kind of mentality. So I don't know why we are putting that kind of pressure on young people these days to aspire to being indispensable. I think that has really changed the way I view my career and really changed my priorities in life when it comes to work. I understand that I have been hired because I have skill sets, competencies, and experiences that can help a business achieve a set goal. I will do that to the best of my skill sets, competencies, and experiences to make sure that goal is achieved. But there's no way I want to make that my lifelong project. I'll do that within a set duration, and when I feel that my time is up, I'm packing my bags and I'm leaving on to the next one. I could care less if the business misses me or not, just as I could care less if they moved on without me. And that's just life. And I hope you accept it. It's about time you did. If you made it this far to today's episode, oh my God, I'm really so proud of you. That means it was really good. In the subsequent episodes, we're going to talk about different things, mostly interviews with people. And yeah, I was able to manage some interviews. So expect that in the coming weeks. I really hope you're going to share this episode with someone, because why won't you do it? Of course you will, right? I'll see you on Instagram. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, on Twitter at Super Secho. Super for Superwoman, Secho for SETSO. Don't forget to give this podcast a 5-star rating, because it's a banger. Oh my goodness. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Feel free to send me a message or ask me a question or share any input. I'll do well to respond and really feature it in our next episode. In the meantime, take good care of yourself and aspire to be redundant.